Hello everybody and welcome to part 4 of what if Izuku Midoriya was a werewolf, or had a quirk that made him into a werewolf. If you missed any of the previous parts, there'll be a link in the description below and in the annotation above, so go check it out. If you enjoyed the series and want to see it continue, make sure to hit that like button, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button to support the channel. Where we last left off, Midoriya and Uraraka managed to beat Bakugo and Ida in the versus fights, thanks to Midoriya's, I lost track of thanks to Midoriya's strategizing and him being able to knock out Bakugo. The next day of school, when he arrives, Midoriya is surrounded by the press and paparazzi, who ask him, "Hey you, can you tell us what it's like to work so closely with All Might?" Midoriya very nervously says, I'm sorry I have to go to class, but I do have to say it's a dream come true. And he leaves, being very nervous to appear on TV. The press keeps asking the students questions, and eventually Aizawa comes out. A member of the press asks him, "Can you please get All Might for us, sir? Also, you look like you need some sleep." Aizawa says, "All Might is not on campus today. Now leave, you're disturbing my students enough already." And he leaves as the press protests. In class, Aizawa says, "Decent work on yesterday's combat training, you guys. I saw the video feeds and went over each of your results. Bakugo, you're talented, so don't dwell on your defeats for too long, okay?" Bakugo says, "Yeah, whatever." Aizawa says, "Okay, let's get down to business. Our first task will decide your future." The whole class wonders if it's another quirk test. Aizawa then says, "You all need to pick a class rep." In this version of events, like after deciding all the stuff in this version of events, Midoriya votes for Bakugo, him getting 1 vote, and Midoriya wins with 3 votes since Bakugo, Uraraka, and Ida still vote for him. So Midoriya becomes the class rep, with Yaomomo being the vice rep with 2 votes. Midoriya goes with Ida, Uraraka, and Bakugo to eat lunch. Uraraka says, it's always so crowded in here." Ida says, "That's probably because the students from the Hero, Support, and General Studies share the cafeteria." Bakugo says, "No duh, Four Eyes." Ida says, "Are you making fun of my eye impediment?" And Bakugo says, "So what if I am, you nerd?" Midoriya ignores their conversation and says, "Guys, I'm not sure about this whole class rep thing. I'm not sure I'm qualified." Uraraka says, "Sure you are." Bakugo says, "Come on, Wolfie. If I'm not class rep, who is better suited than you?" Ida says, "Don't worry. Your courage and quick thinking under stress will help make you into a worthy leader. Your strength. Those are the reasons I voted for you, at least." Midoriya asks, "What? You did?" Uraraka says, "Wait, Ida, didn't you want to be class rep really badly? I mean, you do look the part because of the glasses." Bakugo says, "That's a shitty reason to be a rep." Ida says, "Wanting a job and being suited for one are 2 completely different things. Observing the Ida family agency has taught me that." The 3 students look at Ida and ask him, "Agency? What are you talking about?" Midoriya asks, "What does your family even do?" Bakugo says, "Spit it out, Four Eyes." Ida says, "Oh, it's nothing." Uraraka says, "You know, I've been wondering something about you." Admitted Ida, "You're filthy rich." Ida says, "I was afraid people would treat me differently if they knew about my family. The 3 of them glare at Ida. Bakugo less so, but still looking at him. Ida then says, "You see, the Idas have been pro-heroes for generations. It's in our blood." Uraraka and Midoriya say, "That's awesome." Bakugo just scoffs at the comment. Ida asks, are any of you familiar with the turbo hero Ingenium?" Midoriya says, "I know all about him! He is super popular pro with 65 sidekicks working alongside him at his Tokyo agency. Don't tell me." And Ida says, "He's my elder brother." Uraraka says, "Wow, Ida, your family is famous." And Midoriya says, "I can't believe it." Ida then says, "Ingenium is an unmatched commander who honors the hero code, and I strive to be just like him." The students continue talking for a minute until an alarm sounds, asking everyone to evacuate. Ida asks, what the hell does that security breach mean? Bakugo says, it means somebody got into the school, genius. A third-year student says, yeah, and that hasn't happened in my 3 years at UA. The students start making their way to the exit, but because of the crowd, don't get too far. Both Ida and Midoriya are pushed against the wall, and they manage to see that it's just the press outside. Ida asks Uraraka to make him float. She does, and Ida uses his engines to make his way to the entrance. He says, listen up, everything's okay. It's just the media outside. There is absolutely nothing to worry about. Everything's fine. We're UA students. We need to remain calm and prove that we're the best of the best. The student calms down and somebody else says, look, the police are here. The incident is taken care of, and later the students return to class. Rosa says, it's time, class rep. Let's begin. Midoriya says, alright, okay, so we need to figure out who the other class officers will be. But first, there is something that I do want to say. I've thought about this a lot, and I think that Tenya Ida should be our class rep. He was able to capture everyone's attention and get us in line, so I believe he should be the one leading our class from now on. Kirishima says, if Midoriya vouches for him, I'm good. Plus, he was a big help. He totally manned up and took charge. Ida's appointed the class rep of Class 1A. The next day, All Might is running late on his way to school because he is constantly fighting villains on the way there. In class, Aizawa says, today's training will be a little different. You'll have 3 instructors, me, All Might, and another faculty member. We'll be keeping tabs on you. Zero asks, sir, what kind of training is this? Aizawa grabs a small sign that says rescue and says, we'll be dealing with natural disasters, shipwrecks, stuff like that. And the class gets excited. Aizawa calms the class down and tells them that they can wear whatever they want since they aren't used to their hero suits yet. Maybe they'll want to wear their gym uniforms. Outside of the main building, Midoriya is asked by Uraraka, what's up with your suit? Midoriya, why are you wearing your hero uniform? And why are you wearing gym clothes? Midoriya says, the suit is getting repaired since it got shredded during the fight with Bakugo. Ida says, okay, everyone, it's time to get onto the bus. Line up based on your numbering and let's get on. On the way to the USJ, the students have small interactions. The students discuss their quirks, and Bakugo is made fun of because of his attitude. And Aizawa tells them to stop messing around. Once they arrive, 13 says, hello, everyone. I've been waiting for you. She prepares herself as she explains what the USJ is actually for. They walk in the building and make their way towards the middle. When in the middle of the facility, like in the actual middle, a portal opens and a man covered in hands steps out. Aizawa sees this, and as other villains stop popping up, he says, stay together and don't move. 13, protect the students, as more and more villains start coming out of the portal. Aizawa goes in to attack as many villains as he can, trying to take them down, while the class tries to run away. On their way to their exit, they are blocked by Kurogiri. He says, it's a pleasure to meet you. We are the League of Villains. I know it's impolite, but we have decided to invite ourselves into this haven of justice to say hello. And besides, isn't this a fitting place for All Might, the symbol of peace, to take his last breath? I believe he was supposed to be here today, yet I see no sign of him. There must have been some sort of change of plans we couldn't have foreseen. Ah well, in the end, I suppose it doesn't matter. I still have a role to play. During his monologue, 13 prepared to use her quirk, but can't since Bakugo and Kirishima went in for an attack. Bakugo throws an explosion at Kurogiri, creating a huge puff of smoke. Kirishima says, did you really think we were going to stand around and let you tear this place to shreds? Kurogiri says, you live up to your school's reputation, but you should be more careful, children, otherwise someone might get hurt. Kurogiri uses his portals to teleport as many students as he can, since he misses some of them, around the facility. Midoriya falls into the water and tries to swim up for air, but he is attacked by a villain. Midoriya tries to go faster, but Tsuyu, and that's when Tsuyu comes in, out of nowhere, kicking the villain away and taking both Mineta and Midoriya to safety. She throws both Mineta and Midoriya onto the boat before getting on it herself. Midoriya then says, "You saved my life, Asuri." Tsuyu says, "I told you to call me Tsu." She gets on the boat and says, "This is turning out to be a horrible day of class." Midoriya says, "Yeah, I keep thinking about what the villains said. They knew our whole schedule and who would be here. They must have gotten into the school files while we were all stuck in the cafeteria or something. The teachers were busy trying to get the media off the school grounds. That means they've been waiting for the perfect moment to attack, just like Todoroki said they were." Mineta says, "Hey, hold on a second. It's not like these guys can just really kill All Might. Once he shows up, he will pound them into the ground." So he says, "Think about it though. If the villains spend so much time planning this attack, then they probably figure out a way to kill him. And didn't you hear what that smoke guy said? Maybe we should worry about not getting tortured to death ourselves. Otherwise we might not survive long enough to see All Might again." Midoriya starts getting scared at these comments, and Midoriya does get a little worried. This is when when the villains swim up to the boat surrounding it. Midoriya starts thinking about the situation as Mineta screams, "Oh no, bad guys!" Midoriya says, "If they have a way to beat him, then we have to find out what they are planning. We have to work together to figure this out, to keep All Might safe. No one at school knows what's happening here. That means it's up to us. It's our hero moment. But first, let's come up with a plan. We need to beat these guys first." While in other areas of the USJ, the students start taking action themselves. In the gates of UA, the students make a plan and execute it, and Ida manages to get out of the USJ to call for help. Back at the boat, Mineta asks, "What do you mean, fight? Are you crazy? These guys might be able to kill All Might, and you think we can take them down? Did you hit your head when we got warped here?" Mineta keeps whining while Midoriya says, "Thinking about it, those villains down there clearly have an advantage in the water and assume that's where we'll fight. Meaning that they knew their way around the facility, but they didn't know the students, our quirks and abilities are unknown to them. Otherwise, they wouldn't have brought you here, Tsuyu." Tsuyu says, "You're right." Midoriya starts mumbling while his tail sways from side to side. They aren't climbing onto the boat. That means they have no idea where our quirks are, might be afraid of us, might be a bit overly cautious. For all they know, we're super strong, and even stronger than All Might or something. He continues for a bit, and Tsuyu says, "So, let's talk quirks. I'll go first if you want. Obviously, I can jump high. I can also cling to pretty much any wall. And of course, there's my tongue. I can stick it out about 20 meters. Oh yeah, I can also spit out my stomach so I can glade it, but that's not really useful. I also secreted toxic mucus. It just stings a bit. The last two aren't really that useful, so you can just ignore them." Midoriya says, "Apart from my appearance, I'm pretty strong. Like, my quirk's my appearance. I'm pretty strong, can jump high, and I'm pretty fast. I also have some retractable claws I can use, so I can cut them. Oh, and in moments of extreme emotional distress, I turn into a giant wolf, apparently. But that has only happened once so far, when I was very little, and I don't really remember it." Mineta says, "I've got these sticky balls. Their strength varies depending on how I'm feeling. It might stick to something for a whole day. They grow back as fast as I can pull them off, but I'll bleed if I use too many. Oh, and they don't stick to me, I just bounce off them." Midoriya and Tsuyu look at Mineta, trying to come up with a plan. Mineta starts whining and says, "Don't look at me like that!" One of the villains says, "I'm starting to get bored. Let's get the show on the road," and makes a giant hand of water that slashes into the boat, making it sink slowly. Mineta freaks out and starts throwing his sticky balls into the water. Midoriya grabs him and says, "Mineta, don't freak out." Midoriya looks at the villains and realizes that they are avoiding the balls. Midoriya looks at Tsuyu and says, "Looks like we have no choice but to fight, Tsu." Midoriya jumps into the air as the villains gloat that they now have the upper hand. Midoriya lands on one of the villains' faces, on the one who can control Weller's face and starts stepping on them, kind of moving them. Like, he starts stepping on each head, scratching whoever he can while Tsuyu gets Mineta to safety. Once Mineta is far enough, because Mineta keeps whining and freaking out, Tsuyu comes back to help. Midoriya is holding his own, but is getting some damage as he gets bitten, thrown it back into the water, and does whatever he can. He is doing his best and manages to get some villains out of the fight by sticking them together using Mineta's balls. Like 3 villains together, they can't really swim like that. And also putting them next to the breeze with the balls. Tsuyu comes to help, and together they manage to take down all the low-level villains thanks to their combat prowess and strategy. Midoriya, Mineta, and Tsuyu make their way to shore and go to the entrance to regroup with the others. This is more or less when All Might arrives. After explaining the events that led him there, he says, "No need to worry." Why? Because I am here! He sprints to the center plaza and grabs Aizawa, putting him aside for his own safety. He then Texas smashes Nomu, thinking that will take him out of the running, but it doesn't. Nomu counterattacks and All Might evades, smashing him again. Shigaraki starts to laugh as he says, "That's not going to work." Nomu has shock absorption. All Might gets the upper hand on Nomu and tries to slam him into the ground, but a portal opens just as he does, leaving him in a bizarre position as Nomu stabs All Might's back with his claws. Kurogiri says, "Usually I wouldn't want blood inside of my portals, but I'll make an exception for you, All Might." Suddenly, ice starts forming and freezes Nomu's body. Bakugo comes in and throws a huge explosion at Kurogiri and Shigaraki. Kurogiri blocks most of it, but now Bakugo has him pinned down on the metal part. Todoroki, Kirishima, and Bakugo help All Might keep their things balanced. After a while of going back and forth, All Might starts punching Nomu. Over 300 punches at full strength, and he sends Nomu flying into the sky. All Might tells his students, "Take Aizawa to safety. I've got it from here." He then turns the villains using the last of his strength and says, "Ready to give up now?" Shigaraki looks at All Might in disgust and starts throwing a tantrum, saying, "No fair! You cheated!" Kurogiri from behind him says, "I think it's time for us to take our leave." He makes a portal just as the heroes arrive, and he turns to get in the portal. Shigaraki turns to get in the portal, but is shot by Snipe before he can. Cementos comes along, making a wall between the students and All Might so he can keep the weak form a secret. For now, the day is saved. The students that took the most damage, which in this case is still Midoriya and Tsuyu, but Midoriya mostly, go to the infirmary. Midoriya is checked out by Recovery Girl, so is Tsuyu. Tsuyu leaves earlier because her wounds weren't that big, she just gets to leave. But while Midoriya is recovering, he sees this weakened man and says, "Hello," and smells around. He says, "I recognize that particular scent," and he asks, "All Might?" Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed. Please make sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and leave a like if you enjoyed the series and want to see us continue. If you have any suggestions, make sure to leave them in the comments below, and until next time, have a good day. Bye!